recall being very struck by what they were wearing on stage?
It was really a guy more than it was a lady, and it was James Brown, because he was more erotic looking, I guess, than anybody else I'd ever seen. You know, his suits was very flashy, and plus he had hair forever. Or it was either James Brown or Little Richard, because of hair and the quality of the way they dressed. Their suits were very big and shoulder pads, and their shoes were either gold or silver. You know, that stood out on them. But it was more men than women.
That's interesting. I need to remind you of something that I should have reminded you of before we started. When we do these, when I ask you a question, because in the final, with the final product, you won't hear my question. I need you to speak in complete answers. If I say, who first struck you, say, I was first struck by James Brown.
All right.
It's fine with that one because I've got a good pickup point
Okay.
for James Brown. Okay, 50s girl rockers like Brenda Lee and Connie Francis, etc., had a tendency to look really straight. Real straight. You know, they had the little shirtwaists and petticoats and hair ribbons. Do you remember when that started to change, when it started to heat up as far as female performers?
Well, I really think it really changed late 60s, early to mid 70s, especially with the ribbons in the hair, because it was so teenage or teeny boppy looking. The dresses also, that was the look of the day, the shirt waist dresses and the full skirts with the petticoats. And I think the change really started in the late 60s and mid 70s, mostly.
Chairs, stool, strangers, not an easy rung to latch onto. What do you think caused the change?
The look. It was the look of the 60s, the early 60s, and the 50s was a very young look, very childish look, innocent, if you will, look more so. And I think just the kids just grew up. Not just the people that were on stage, but the kids also started growing up in the late 60s and the early 70s. And it wasn't such an innocent look anymore. It started changing.
Was this early 60s sort of innocent sort of look, was it something that you liked? Was it comfortable for you?
Yes, because we didn't know anything else. And you grow up with what's going on at the time. And it was fine with me because that's what everybody was doing. Everybody wasn't like what we'd call a leader to get out there and be different, to change a look. So you just kind of went along with the look that was going on during that time.
In talking to Patti LaBelle, she was saying that when they first started out, she and the Bluebells, they got a lot of their clothes at Woolworths and Learners and just wherever they could pick them up for the price that they could afford. What was it like for you? Where were you buying your clothes at that time?
It was easy for me. I started out with the group called Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans. So we went to the store and found blue jeans and actually Bobby Sox. We wore actually Bobby Sox and we wore tennis shoes, were the tight leg jeans, what we called pedal pushers. And we got away with wearing that kind of look on stage, mainly probably because of our names. And you could find those anywhere, and the cheaper, the better.
What was the next group for you then, and what was the next fashion from there?
The Ronettes more or less kind of started a new look, I think, more so than anybody else during the mid-50s, the late 50s. Their look was more of a sexier look, really, really short dresses more than a cleavage line, but, short dresses. What we thought that was sexy and wow. Boy, who's going to wear that? I couldn't wear that. My mother wouldn't let me on the stage in anything that looks like that, that kind of thing.
Do you remember what the corresponding hairdo was that was going along with the Ronettes and their look at that time?
Very stiff, sprayed hair. The more hair, the higher you could pile it up on your head, even the better. Because I remember working at a place in Long Beach one time. It was very, very windy. It was so windy and our hair was sprayed so tight with hairspray. The wind didn't, everything else was blowing, but the hair was like a rock. I mean, it did not move at all, but everything else was, and that was, you know, it was horrible too. I don't know how we did it. I don't even think we really cared for it, but it was the style and what was going on, so I know the guys hated it. Because it would stick to everything. It was horrible, but we did it.
How, was it really teased?
Oh, I think it took sometimes more time to comb it out than it did to do it, because each strand was like ratted with a small tooth comb. And to keep your hair from really, really coming out by the roots, we'd take our fingers and kind of go through it. It was horrible, but we did it. It was a mess.
I always laugh now. I mean, my hair is just now growing out from being very short, and I had to keep it very gelled and very lacquered. And I always used to say, in the case of a hurricane or a tornado, my hair would be the best place to hold on to because it's not going to move.
Right.
So let's go back just a little bit. Now, when you were with Bobby Socks and the Blue Jeans, what was the hair like?
Wigs. Thank God. It saved our hair. But that was during the time where a lot of us were wearing wigs. We were wearing, short wigs, long wigs, But it did help because we could take our wigs everywhere we went rather than taking all the hairspray and stuff for the hair. We were wearing wigs.
Did you have somebody that would travel with you to style your wigs, or did everybody sort of do it themselves?
No, we all did our own hair. Matter of fact, we didn't have a lot of what they have today. Somebody take care of your hair, somebody take care of your clothes, somebody to dress you. It was 3 of us, and we could more or less take care of one another. So we took care of our own hair and all our clothes also.
When girl groups like the Ronettes and the Shangri-Las and the Crystals, you tended to dress sexier than the Motown girl groups, who were formal. They were very formal, evening gowns and matching pumps. Why do you think this was, the Motown look?
Motown had a way of, they sent all their people to school. I mean, etiquette, how to walk, how to talk, how to show them how to put on their makeup, their hair, the whole bit. And they wanted to establish, I really believe, a look that Motown had that no one else had. And nobody else was doing that at that time, sending you to school, showing you how to do certain things. So you more or less did what you did on your own, where Motown polished their acts before they even went out on stage to be presented to the audience. They were, they went to school, they were shown how to act and how to dress. And it kind of, you knew who the Motown acts were and you knew who wasn't a Motown act.
What'd you think about the way they looked?
I thought it was fine because another thing also, it had to do with whether you could afford to look like that or not. And the company was paying for that look for them, where no one was paying for our look. So it was fine, if you could afford it. Although we couldn't afford it, so we looked the way we did, and Motown looked the way they did.
Do you remember any one particular Motown act, be it male or female, that really struck you as being so glamorous?
Sure, that's easy. It was the Supremes. They were starting out, I guess, like the rest of the female artists that started out. But by the time it got to the Supremes, I think they were really had polished them up, and they wanted to make them completely different from the rest of the acts that were on their show.
Hold on just a second.
Sorry about the store. What's wrong with
Let's start that question over again. Door problems.
I can't remember the last part.
Let's start at I had said, do you remember one particular Motown act that struck you in the Supremes?
Right. The Supremes, I think, struck me more than anybody else. I think they were building to make them really stars. I mean, like superstar act. So they dressed them and made them look much different from the rest of the girl groups on the label at that time. And even their pictures that they took of the Supremes were much more glamorous than, say, the Vandellas or the other groups that were on on the label. I think they just knew that they wanted what they wanted the Supremes to be, and they geared them to that.
It seems so that in creating this sort of, look, and sort of gearing it towards, even to making them very acceptable to white middle-class America, they sort of made very homogenous music also. Do you think that is true, and that the styles went with the music? And do you think that you guys were making maybe a little bit more rebellious music?
No, not really. I think the music was black music, but I think at that time the white audience just was not prepared for that kind of music yet. So they dressed them for that audience, and then I think they accepted the music along with the way they looked.
What about when you were in your various stages of stage wear? How did that correspond to your streetwear? Was it very different?
Yes. As Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans, we wouldn't, matter of fact, we didn't look the way we did on stage as the way we did on the street. The more we got into the business and were able to afford better looking clothes, we didn't wear the same clothes that we wore on the street as we did on stage. So that made a big difference. It gave you two completely different looks, the look on stage and the look on the street, which made you feel better. You kind of separated yourself from the street and the stage look, which did make you feel much better about performing, because you didn't look like everybody in the audience. You looked like you were on stage and you were a performer, different from the people that were in the audience.
When you were performing, did you ever get to a point where you would look in the audience and notice that people were starting to dress like you? Would you see the reflection of what you were wearing in the audience after a while?
Not.
Hold on just one second.
Jeez. I think I'll squeeze it.
There's a little thing right there. Will that hold the door down? See
Well, I
the?
thought that sandbag would do the job, but
There you go.
some type of...
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
We were talking about, did you get to the point where you would look in the audience and see that people were starting to look like you, starting to dress like you?
Not during my era, I don't think. Not so much doing Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans, or even the Crystals, or the Ronettes. I think that happened much later, like the 70s, more toward the 70 acts. That because of what we were actually wearing, it either had to be worn on stage or wore on the street. And maybe the blue jeans, but everybody was wearing blue jeans and Bobby Sox during that time. So I think there was a radical change much later where the audience started really looking like the performers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's talk about today for a little bit. It seems as if today it's very hard to tell music from fashion. Do you think so?
Yes, I really do. I hate to have to go on stage and actually look out into the audience and see your clothes in the audience. I mean, not that I hate it, but it makes it that much more difficult for you to find something to wear on stage. But I think people in your audiences are looking like, not so much like you, but they're looking like performers. Maybe the Cyndi Laupers or the Madonnas don't mind, because their look is, what they have on stage is the way ladies look, girls look on the street. And they want to look like the people that they admire and they love. And maybe that's why also that they dress the way they do.
Do you think there is a look of the 80s as far as music goes?
I don't think so. I think it's a catch as catch can. I think they wear just what they want to wear. It doesn't matter what kind of music they sing. I think they just like to, a lot of women like to be comfortable on stage today, I think. And they're just wearing whatever the mood, whatever they want to wear. A lot of them, it's funny because I don't think they don't really dress the way they do on the street as they do on stage. It's like making a reversal of the way they look. I think they just want to be that way on stage. They want to be very comfortable. And I think that's the big reason for the way they're dressing now.
Do you think is doing really exciting fashion things. Anybody coming to mind?
Patti LaBelle. I think and she gets away with it, and she looks good at what she's doing. Even the hair, the first time I saw her with the outrageous hairstyles, I said, that's Patti. You know, she can get away with looking like that, and she looks fabulous at looking that way. No one else really comes to mind today, you know, that's that outrageous, that gets away with it as far as I'm concerned.
If you were just starting out in the business, how do you think you'd style yourself?
I would probably be very comfortable on stage. I like a sort of sexy look, but if you know what I mean when I say an innocent, sexy look. Not to give them too much, but to let their minds do more of it than being so outrageous with it. But I would have a sexier, today I would have a sexy look, but an innocent, sexy look.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. It was fun. Thanks.
Thank you.